Get Valiant.
Getting Valiant and Staying Valiant, number 194. How y'all gents doing?
We're doing good, man.
Good. Josh is back, man. Josh is back.
Yeah. Remember me? I've been on this show once or twice.
Wow.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Special guest, Josh.
Super happy to have you on as a guest this week. You know,
Yeah.
long time listener, long time caller. So.
Long time, first time.
Dude, so how's everything going? How's everybody?
I got no complaints on my end. You know, we have changes in life that kind of mess with our schedules a little bit. So doing the Thursday night, it's a little difficult, but we're making it work. So from here,
Maybe we could look to adjust it another night if we have to. So,
yeah.
You know, family things keep happening on all the ends, adjusting it. So sorry, viewers and listeners, that we got to do it sometime. So
I know. I mean, like if we were all like free spirits like Eric, who like can do it like at any time of day or night, you know.
I don't know about that.
Well, we could all get other jobs, right? And just do other jobs. So,
Or we just got to start making that sweet, sweet podcast money.
Oh, how's that happen?
I'm not sure.
well, those chat links that have like the super chat with dollar signs. That helps.
Do we have to start doing ayahuasca and like just getting all crazy about stuff? Is that how it works?
Yeah. Well, and they need to get back to like the Google Hangouts that was free. Now you have the StreamYard that can cost money, like things like that. That just it's costing money to produce things now, and it kind of stinks. Like we want free. So.
Yeah. Hey, that reminds me. I know that we had this conversation. I think one time ever. Maybe we've had it more. I don't think we have, but I think one time you're like, yeah, it costs me like a little bit of money a month. I can give you some money for my share.
Yeah.
You know, Eric can just make his way out to Rose City, and then you can buy me a beer at Rose City or something of that nature, and we could call it even.
I think that's how we can pay all debts, is if Eric gets to Rose City.
That's it. We just get Eric down to Rose City.
He can probably sell some of those sweet bloodshot variants, and pay the way. They don't mean that much to him.
Dude, I think Eric would love Portland, that he would end up moving there. That's what he's scared of.
Yeah. I've been out in the Pacific Northwest before. It was okay. I played a death metal show at a vegan record store, bookstore.
Did you say a vegan record store?
Yeah, it was like a vegan bookstore / record store. It was interesting.
In Portland? Vegan?
Yeah, it must have been Portland, because that's super vegan.
I was in Eugene.
Oh, Eugene. Okay. Yeah. Well, if you're in the Pacific Northwest next time, let's figure something out. Dude, but and then I saw Emerald City Comic Con tickets are going on sale here in a couple weeks. So
nice.
Another Northwest. Hopefully some shows open up in Minnesota or in the Midwest, but nobody wants to live there, so I don't know.
Why would anybody ever want to live in that hellhole?
Hey, I would live in your neck of the woods, Eric.
Not during the winter.
I would do that.
Yeah.
My criteria for living anywhere, if it gets me out of Utah, is somewhere that has the four major sports, the four real sports, which is baseball, basketball, football, and hocky.
What about soccer?
Everything else is for kids that aren't athletic. So, not soccer.
Soccer. Gotta have the Sounders, man. You gotta enjoy real sports, man. Got to figure out a time where you come out to one of those matches. You'll appreciate it.
I'm good. I've seen Real Salt Lake run around a field before. I'm good. My kids can kick a soccer ball. It's all the same to me. Can my kids at home run at the ballpark? Probably not. So
we got a pro soccer team, but they are from Minnesota, so I'm sure they lose a lot.
Yeah.
Like the Vikings do.
Like, because it's Minnesota. I mean,
The Twins,
Minnesota did not have good
Vikings.
sports
I said the
leagues.
Twins won the World Series like sometime in my lifetime, I think.
Kirby
Yeah,
Puckett
like-
pays, man. Kirby Puckett.
Not everybody's
pays.
a loser. Oh, Kirby Puckett was like a god too, you know. So.
Yeah.
We have that one. That, like, we get good players every once in a while. We get that Kirby Puckett. We get that Randy Moss. But we don't ever have, like, good teams.
Joe Mauer. I like Joe Mauer. That guy's solid. Yeah.
I like when he had those PlayStation commercials and he was like really relevant for a minute. I was like, yeah. Mauer.
Yep. And then what was that one? Scott Erickson. I used to like that pitcher. Anyway, we're watching Get Baseball. This is Get Baseball. We're going to talk some sports.
Sports.
The
Minnesota.
All-Star game just happened, and you know, it was fantastic. And what about Guerrero, American League One? So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. kicked some butt. So
Yeah. I'm a
the
fan of
Toronto
him.
Blue Jays that are playing in Buffalo. So it happens. Well, anyway,
Right over my head.
yeah, it's okay. Anyway, gents, any Valiant news recently?
I don't think so.
Nothing really jumps to mind, man. I mean, but I will be honest. I'm super biased because like the only news that I'm gonna like jump up and down for is that they're like expanding the comic line and we're getting, 5, 6, 7, 10 books a month. Other than that, I'm not. I don't know. I'm sure that there are news items that could come out that would make me excited, but that's the one I'm really waiting for. Although. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to keep cutting you off. The only thing I was going to say is it's not necessarily Valiant related, but I saw one of my favorite artists, Mr. Miko, post on Facebook that he had received an email about doing interiors for a big event, not for the big two. Now, obviously, that could mean a lot of things. There are a lot of comic book companies out there that aren't the big two, but being slightly biased, I hope that means Valiant.
Oh man, that would be great. That would be a total like return to form from what a lot of us are used to. You know, we've all liked his work at Valiant, whether it was in the interiors of books like Bloodshot Reborn or some of the covers he's done. He's fantastic. You know, I feel like he's a dude that definitely puts like butts in seats, so to say. You know, if this was that kind of like analogy we need. But man, if that's the case, sign me up. I'm so excited. I don't care if it's a Torque book. I would be so excited. See that dude draw that big idiot for 22 pages, if that's the case.
Josh just loves making fun of the guy that's like, got a lot of birth defects and crap. That's really
Sorry.
we call those bullies where I come from. That ain't
I'm
cool.
not going to say anything in more about it, but that's just my stance.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you, Eric. Like that's kind of the big news that I'd be looking for outside of hearing, some like, great creative, moves that are being done. Bringing back more Abnett, bringing back more Bun, expanded Shadow, Deadside verse, and then like, potential of some other, good big names would be great. I mean, I love the small names that can make it, but I really, I feel like there needs to be that spark, that flare, that energy for something happen to have a, some sort of big name come in, a Scott Snyder or something doing a Bloodshot story, something like that.
Also think, speaking of things that are going to hype people up, I also think that we need an event. We need a big, and we talked about this a bunch on the last episode. This is still kind of something I'm pulling for. Is if that big reveal at the end of the last Shadow Man issue leads toward something bigger, because we definitely know that this huge reveal that, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't been keeping up on Shadow Man, that the dead side is this massive Loa riding the earth. I just think that there's no possible way that huge revelation is going to be wrapped up and dealt with and put behind us after only one more issue of Shadow Man. So clearly there's more story to come. And if that can be expanded on, bring in the other characters that are involved in, the dead side, whether it be Dr. Mirage or Punk Mambo or, Ninjak has had interactions with the dead side before. Like, you've got all these potential characters who could get involved. Like, get those characters together, have a big event, get Miko to draw it, get somebody like Jordi Belair or something to do the colors, and then get your badass cover artist that Valiant seems to have a ready supply of. And I think you've got a really big hit there. Get Cullen Bunn to write it, or even Abnett or whoever. Like, I think you've got a really big potential hit on your hands, and that's the kind of thing that I think can get people excited. And I think that's something that we need. Now, is that something that's going to happen in the next 6 months? Probably not, but hopefully, I don't know.
Hey, we know that, like, when it comes to the world of Valiant, that we're probably like some of the biggest influencers around.
Obviously,
Livewire. Remember when everybody was like, "Get a Livewire series," and it didn't happen, and then we're like, "You know what? Do a Livewire series." It happened.
They did it.
Yeah. So I mean, like, look, there's something about the words that we say that kind of hit on the pulse of Valiant. And they're like, yeah, these guys are talking about it. These 30-something and 40-something men, they know a lot about the world. They know about what the fandom needs, So,
yeah, where's our Armorines?
Yeah, Armorines.
That book is coming. That book is coming. This is awesome. They say, we just realized that our society doesn't often enough listen to straight white cis men. We really need to pay attention to what these guys are saying.
When's someone going to give us a voice? And by us, I mean like middle-aged men who are stuck at home with 3 kids. So that's my view. That's my cross to bear.
We need our voice heard, and let's produce that voice and make sure we follow through with money. Now,
there was a tiny bit of news about Harbinger. I want to say that someone, like Screen Rant or someone, had interviewed Jackson Lansing about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a chance to ever read the interview. But they showed some covers, and it looked like Pete was maybe in a costume.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
We did get to see that Harbinger. I remember Greg posting about it in the big Valiant comic group on Facebook. And talking about how, like, at least the writer is looking at it from the perspective of, yes, we want this to be a new, fresh jumping on point for new readers, but also taking into account the continuity from Dysart's run. So hopefully, we're building on that foundation and moving forward. And I don't mind Pete in a costume depending on how it's handled. So, like, my opinion on that has yet to be formed.
Yeah, I had a little bit of blowback from some people who didn't have like a good opinion of it. And I just thought, I haven't read an issue. I can't sit there and say anything about it yet, And their problem wasn't even the costume point, but it was more about how the writer of the book was like going through his own life issues with things and applying those to the book. It's just like, I can't say anything yet, like I haven't read anything. I can't sit there and be like, oh, that's terrible. And I mean, ultimately, I think like it's going to be a hard book to sell with some people because of everything that Josh Dysart did. But man, I mean, like, you're not getting it again. 100 people could write Harbinger. None of them are going to do what Josh did.
Yeah.
So it's like I think you either have to like choose whether you want to like those characters anymore if anyone else works on them, or just like stick with those 3 or 4 deluxe books you got and call it a day, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like the introduction of a couple new characters as well. So who knows if we're going to see a bunch of the Renegades back and forth coming in and out. It's one of those wait and see, right? Wait and see, much like we did with today's book too, right? It was an interesting book to kind of come into, but I'm not sure that there's much more news than what was said there.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
You guys want to get into the book today?
Yeah, I mean, first thing before you son of a bitch. I just want to like agree with what you just said right there before we even get into spoilers and like the content of the book. Like, this has been a really tough one to wait for, and I mean, we've had the review copy for a little while, and I'm a big proponent of reading the book right before we do these episodes so that I can kind of have a fresh perspective on it, and I'm not trying to remember what I thought about it when I read it a week or 2 ago. So I haven't read it yet, but I hadn't read it yet. I have read it now, but I hadn't read it yet. And I honestly, like, this was one of the tougher ones to wait on because I've been so curious about how this turned out. I have not made any secret of the fact that the art style that we've seen so far has not been my preferred approach to a Ninjak book. So yeah, that's had me really curious about like what this book would be.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, John.
I'm going to agree with you on that completely. When I first heard Jeff Barker, I was pumped up because I know what he did with 007. And, within that, like I said, it makes a lot of sense to have that creator over here with us on Ninjak. And then Polito's art. It's weird that there's a lot of people really pumped up, but they're not typical Valiant fans that have been pumped up for Javier Polito. Independent, creators or independent readers that are like, okay, I guess I will read a superhero book, and trying to do that. So, the art just like, I agree. It seems, I don't know. To me, it seemed like almost too childish to a degree at first, just too flat.
Cartoony.
Too flat, yeah, too cartoony, and so that was my first impressions of seeing the art, and I just, especially that picture of Ninjak that they were using for the most part, where he's standing straight up and he's got hips for days and they don't lie, and it was that I couldn't stand that piece of art that was thrown out there at first, just that first marketing art. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh?
With you.
I don't mind the art, really. I was thinking about this, I've said this before, like when they announced the art, I think for like a split second, I was kind of like, oh, not my preferred visual choice for a book like this. I just think like Ninjak kind of deserves a little bit something more detailed. But there's artists that Javier Polito is very similar to that I like a lot. Marcos Martin, Eduardo Rizzo, and those are guys whose art I really like a lot. They're not too different from Javier Polito. I think the problem, though, for me, and this wouldn't fix it necessarily with everyone who reads this is just my own take upon looking at his art, is that I just feel like the coloring on this book doesn't do the art any justice when you have a panel of, Ninjak stabbing somebody, and it's like, hey, the whole panel's going to be purple, or like, hey, he stabs this guy. His sword will be purple for like no reason. We don't know why. It just is. Yeah. The coloring is, the art is not very detailed. The coloring is very simple to what is portrayed on the page too, though. And so whereas I get everybody's complaint, art is such a subjective thing that if you don't like something, you don't like it, I know that the people who co-host this podcast with me, they love artists like, Miko Swyan and Louis LaRosa, but they also love guys like, the artist who did The Valiant, whose name escapes me right now, Paulo Rivera.
Yeah, Paulo Rivera was great.
We've had conversations for many years about many different artists who have worked on these books, and they all have a variety of styles. I don't think any of them have anything even close in the wheelhouse, though, to Javier Polito, as far as like what their art looks like, So to me, like, I don't fault anyone if they look at this and they're just like, it doesn't look great. Because to me, like, I don't know if this is a great fit for Ninjak necessarily, Like, if you gave me this on, say, Faith, I think a lot of people would be like, hey, that's a cool look for that book, because it is a little stylish. Javier's panel layouts are kind of incredible, But there's just such a lack of detail there that I think, like, if you're looking at a book for, like, assassins and intrigue and things like that, there's a little bit more detail you want. But to me, I just think like this book could have used a little bit better coloring on it as far as like his style. I would have been interested to see if they would have just like branched out with a few more colors, because the palette is very limited.
You talk about how it resembled other artists, and one of the artists that I think that it resembled a little bit was Wes Craig, right? Deadly Class. But even that is more detailed than what we're having here, right? And Deadly Class is not very detailed. It is more of a like a mono, and it is very flat book. But even that is more detailed than what we're seeing here. And I agree with you. I think something like a different book might have played better for it than what we're seeing here. Because then there's certain pictures where I'm like, wait, who am I looking at? Is this Colin King or is this, you know? And so I think we can get into that. Let me hit this little gong here so we can get into some crap. You guys cool with that?
Well, the one thing I did want to like piggyback on that Josh said is like the colors did not do this art any favors.
Yeah.
I mean, we have entire pages that are just like this gigantic yellow background and then like super simple figures. Like, so there's no backgrounds drawn in any of the panels on an entire page. And then it's all just this flat yellow. And then everything is supposed to pop off of that. And I just don't think that it worked for me. Anyway. Yeah.
We'll get into some images. I have some images to share, so
sure.
For sure. Definitely agree with both of you on this. But let's do this. Damn it, Bobby, quit reading the book.
All right. So the actual content of this book, you guys, like, I actually really like this story. So I just want to all of the gripes that I have about like this isn't my favorite art style ever, and I don't know that this was the right artist for this book and maybe would have been better on a different book and so on and so forth. All of that aside, the writing here, I think that they did a really good job picking a writer, because not only does this feel like Colin King and, like this feels legitimately like a Ninjak story from a writing perspective, you also have like immediately, it's blatantly obvious that this takes place in the same timeline as the previous Ninjak stories. Like you can tell this is happening, maybe not the next day after the last Ninjak story we read, but absolutely in the wake of everything that's come before. And I really am appreciative of that. I think something that we talked a lot about when a writer will come onto a book and kind of try to take it in a new direction and put their own spin on it. A lot of times you don't get that nod to previous continuity until you're a few issues in. This one, it felt like immediately right out of the gate, that this writer cares about what came before and is building directly on that, not saying like, I'm going to go in a totally different direction and then put in a couple lines of dialogue that acknowledge that what's come before. Like this is directly built on what happened before, and I'm a big fan of that. And like I said, I feel like this writer really has the voice for Colin King. It feels like a Colin King book, a Ninjak book, and like I just think from that perspective, I do think that this was really well done.
Yeah, that's something I want to follow up on that you said. I am so glad that Jeff Parker read Ninjak and was like, man, yes. You know what? There's a book that you can spin off of right there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I think if this would have had the same issue that some of the Valiant books of late had, where we didn't pay any attention to what happened before. Exo Man was like a great example of that, where it's just like us as longtime readers, and we're all so dedicated, and this is a very passionate fan base. We've all read all the Exo books. And then Exo Man War is just like, hey, you know what? We threw all that shit away. We're just going to start in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, what about nods? Like, what happened? Like, we know that things happened, and the continuity is just totally ignored, especially where that book had left off prior to Dennis Hopeless's run. So seeing this book, I read it today for the first time too, and seeing that they were like, you know what? We loved where that previous volume dropped off. We can totally build from there. We've got more stuff in store for MI6. We've got more stuff in store for Ninjak. We've got more characters that we can introduce into that world and make it work. It's a home run to me, man, like on the story. I'm so happy with the writing aspect of this, just because I've made no secrets about it. I love Ninjak. Ninjak is one of the best things that Valiant's put out. That's my own opinion. And Ninjak is one of my favorite characters. So the fact that hey, look, it might not look the best in maybe some of our opinions, but the story is still there. And I can get past the art on a book if the story is still good. And I think the story here is great. And I would hope that fans don't just go, I'm not buying this. I don't like how it looks. Like, I just feel like they would be the ones missing out because the story is there. A lot of people like Ninjak. They're going to like this book too.
And to go with what both of you are saying, the continuity was there, right? But one of the nice things is this does a good job of catching a reader up if they haven't read it either, too. Right?
Without
So
being
it does
just
recap it.
exposition.
It recaps it so well of how it's done. So and it's like you said, it's not just exposition. It tells it within the story. It's moving the story along with letting you know where they're at, where they came from, and in a good way too. I think there's I love the story. I think it's a good piece. But there's a lot to this story, and I hope they unveil some of the things that have happened in issue number 1, because a lot kind of blows up in the ninja program in MI6, and all MI6 operatives are exposed, and it is Colin King, Ninjak, he's doing his own pieces, but Neville's got somebody watching him, and all MI6 gets exposed. Ninjak takes the gal who's been watching him and basically saves her and keeps her alive. And the ninja program is the MI6. I keep saying ninja program. It's the whole ninja, or the whole MI6 program is exposed, and people are dying. Agents are dying, and it's all up. Kind of gets it to the point where it's all up to Colin King to pretty much save the day. And will it align with MI6 program? Will it align? And it looks like we got some cool bads with Daylight coming, right? And that's what this book is called, Daylight. So, yeah, this book does a great job continuity and moving forward, giving you guys a rundown kind of the story, and introduces a new character. And like you said, Josh, I could overlook the art a little bit. I was not, and I'm still not a fan of the art. It could have been so much better with better art, but it was still really good.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying there. Like, I'm talking about the continuity, but like you said, like not only taking that continuity, but also moving forward in a direction that feels natural and true to the kind of story you would expect from Ninjak, while not being completely predictable. You know what I mean? Like, if you ask me, like, what do you want the next Ninjak story to be like? I wouldn't have come up with this. But it fits perfectly in the type of story you want to read about a character like Ninjak. You want espionage, you want intrigue, you want action, you want fight scenes. You want all of the stuff like explosions and like train derailing and all this stuff. Like that is the kind of stuff that I think needs to be in a Ninjak story. So like you hit all of those amazing, like perfect elements to feel like a good Ninjak book, while also walking that fine line of respecting the past and giving new readers a place to jump on and catching them up. Like you said, I think you made a great point there, Hoosier. Like this book does such a good job of catching a new reader up to what is going on, like what situation Colin King finds himself in right now. I love the way that like we got a lot of this story from the perspective of that. What was her name? Mina or something like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the lady that's been following Ninjak around. We got a lot of it from her perspective. And then the first time that we kind of hear what Ninjak is thinking about, he's like, oh yeah, where's the lady that's been following me? And I thought that was so perfect that he was just nonchalant immediately, like, oh, this lady that's been covertly tailing me that I've obviously known about this entire time. Like I thought that was handled so well. I chuckled a little bit when I read that because I just thought it was perfect Ninjak. Like, just the writing on this is so solid. And to not be completely negative about the art, I do think you made a good point, Josh, that like there are some panel layouts here and some transitions in the art that are really, really well done. Like something that I would compare it to is one of my absolute least favorite comic artists, execution-wise, is the artist from Long Halloween. Was that Tim Sale?
Tim Sale.
Yeah. I cannot stand the way he executes his panels. However, like I like that stuff less than I like this. I have way more negative stuff to say about that than I do about this. However, Tim Sale is an absolute master when it comes to laying out a page and telling a story across the page. And I think that's what Javier Peludo is doing successfully here as well, is saying like, feel how you will about the actual style of the art. And I've made no secrets about my negative feelings about some aspects of it. But like, I think it's pretty undeniable that the panels are laid out and the pages are laid out really well. Like this is clearly someone who knows what he's doing. And I feel like a lot of the panel transitions and page transitions are done really, really well. And so I do think that there are definitely positive aspects to the way this art is executed, and laid out, even if the actual like execution, the style of the panels isn't my favorite way of going about a comic book interior. So yeah, I definitely think there are still positives on the art side, and I think the story is just absolutely nailing it. Like I think that this is story-wise exactly what I would want coming out of Ninja K and moving Ninjak forward as a character. We got new characters in Mina. We got a new, the guy that Neville was talking to. We got a new, big threat in Daylight. We've got, other threats that show up at the end, like all these people who are coming after the exposed MI6 undercover agents. Like, there's just so much going on. And to know that Jeff Parker was able to catch up new readers, pay homage to what longtime readers care about and the continuity that we've already had established for us, introduce new characters, new threats, and create this huge like problem for Ninjak to navigate. Like doing all of that in one single issue cannot be an easy feat. And I've definitely read a lot of issue ones that haven't come close to accomplishing what this issue does. So like, I think overall, like, yeah, I've got my gripes, but I think overall this is a really, really well done comic book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, story wise, it's exactly what it needs to be. I just feel like if they would have dropped the ball and be like, we know that Colin's not with MI6, but we're gonna put him with a different organization. Just like forget everything. I just think like. They had, I think maybe like, I don't know whose like decision it was to go this route, and maybe it was Lisa Hawkins, or maybe it's just Jeff Parker liked what happened before. But I just think that they respected the fans enough to be like, you know what, at the very least, like someone wants to go the route of what happened prior. They want to address those things and they want to build it from there. That's all I can ask for as a fan. Like I like the continuity. I know it's not easy when you've written, say 100 different adventures of a character. I'm sure the person who has to edit Spider-Man and get the writer on board on that to, tell a story that's original, it can be difficult. And luckily we don't have that many stories with Ninjak to be in that situation. But I also like the fact that he hasn't had that many adventures that they should be having problems like that. So I'm glad that we can still be like, hey, he was put in a rough spot before. That's where we're going to take it from. We know he's not with MI6. Him and Neville are on the outs. Take it from there. So I love the writing on this. And I don't hate the art on it, I know like some people are going to look at this and just be like, it's ugly. It's childish. It's cartoony. That cover that's up right now, the Ninja cover that has Javier Polito's art, it's like the 1 in 100. I think it's a nice cover, personally for his style. But I just think a little bit about the colors still. Like I've been scrolling through the pages even on my end, and I just think like, why couldn't they have just done a little bit more with the colors? It's stylish. It's definitely a stylish book. It's the kind of thing that probably reminds. To me, like it reminds me of like Love and Rockets a little bit too. Which I haven't read in a long time, but like it kind of reminds me of like the Hernandez brothers a little bit. But I don't know. It's just. I guess the thing I keep thinking too is like I don't want this to just be the discussion every time we talk about this issue where we're just like, well, the art's not for me, because I feel like that's like a broken record thing that happens a lot of times when we're like, when we don't like something, we're just like, well, the writing is not for me. This character is not for me. This book's awesome. Like I'll say,
this harken back to '92 Valiant to you, where it was like story first and then the art is kind of coming up next. Like you gotta kill it with the story, you gotta kill it with the writing.
I don't know, because
then you have
90s Valiant, like Shooter had a house style kind of implemented. Everybody kind of had, like Layton is like a badass artist. Him and Barry Windsor Smith have some similarities. Barry Windsor Smith's like a better artist overall, I think. But I love Layton. But then like when you look at like a lot of the people who are doing work with them, like Don Perlin and who's the guy? He's from here. gosh, damn it, I wish I could remember his last name. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that have to have like a similar style to what they had. They had like the same colors for everything. Once they got like past Unity, it was a whole different story, and especially like when they got to like the Birthquake era, where it's like, yeah, we got Dan Jurgens on this book, we got Bart Sears on this one. There's no house style, There's just like Bart, and then people that wanted to be like Bart at one point though.
But definitely not a house style anymore.
Like I don't know if you could say like after like Christ, or I don't know if you could say after Unity that it was necessarily like story first and then art.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I think, but that's what I think is here though, is story first, right? As far as the way I'm looking at it, is good plot, good story, and it's taking you to a place that's interesting. It's holding you. It's getting your attention. It's making you want to see what's on each next panel, each page, and now it's next to the next issue. Looking at where this story goes, I'd love to meet Jeff Parker when we're at Rose City Comic Con, and we're going to run across him there and talk to him about what his plans are with this story. What's the long haul of it? Maybe that's episode 200, and we could figure some more stuff out here, and maybe Eric will join. And it would be some really cool things with Ninjak and Rose City to have that happen at episode 200 with Josh, Eric, Jeff Parker, us all there, one spot live, and special giveaway. I
think we have to do a couple extra episodes in between though to make that happen.
Oh, we can make it happen. It's only like 5 more episodes.
I love the fact that we're seeing a lot of the covers, a lot of the variant covers, store exclusive covers that keep popping up. And one of the covers that I just love, it's not the most detailed, but it's the lemonjuicecomics.com cover. It just shows like a yellow background and Ninjak's just like driving a sword through someone's head.
Yeah.
I really dig it. I keep looking at it and I'm just like, I might have to buy it.
No, there are some really, really good covers for this book. One thing that I did want to point out is like something that I think has been a strength of Valiant's, even when it doesn't always work out exactly the way we might want it to. Like, I think Valiant has always been served well by taking creative risks. And I think that they had this, like, completely locked down, perfect way to take the Ninjak story forward with what Jeff Parker is doing. And then they took this risk and said, what if we go in a new direction on the art? Now, again, like whether or not that worked out is left to your personal taste of how you feel about the art. But I do appreciate that they were willing to try something new and not just say like, well, we've had, Diego Bernard and Miko and Luis LaRosa and, so on and so forth do these books in the past. So we have to get somebody that's exactly like that on this next book. Like, I appreciate that they were willing to try something different. So, again, I think that there are a lot of reasons why, there's a positive outlook is from the visual perspective, but end of the day, like the story is 100% there. I think if we're going with letter grades for this, this to me, like all of its faults laid bare, from my perspective, what I think are the faults in this book, totally all of that taken into consideration. I have to also take into consideration how perfectly well done the story is. And this comes in at like right on that line between a B+ and an A-, just pushing over into an A- for me. Like, I really do think that this is in that because of how good the story is, how well that line between, new reader friendly and fan service was walked, like all of those things done so well in the story, like I think that pushes it right over that edge into that A- territory for me. And I really want to see what comes next. And, if the next arc has a different artist that's, more my personal preference of art style, I'll be that much happier with the book. But even if we keep this exact creative team moving forward, I'm going to continue reading this book. I'm going to continue buying these issues, and I'm going to continue recommending it for other people who have liked Ninjak in the past. Because if you like the way that Matt Kint and Christos Gage wrote this character, you're going to like the way that Jeff Parker is writing this character because it is the same character, it is that same feel, and it's exactly the kind of story that you would want from this character. So definitely a book I would recommend reading. I think it's worth it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a couple covers you'd want to get too.
Yeah,
Rico,
Those
yeah.
covers look great.
Mwah.
Man, was that a gold cover I saw there in the images?
There was a gold cover there, yeah.
Yeah, the gold cover's in there.
I'm running behind on those, Valiant. Send me
What did you end up giving the grade there, Eric?
What?
What
What did
about
you-
like on the art grading scale? Like, what would you grade it?
What?
What would you give it the score? What grade did you give it?
I heard an
I
A
give it
minus,
A minus.
yeah, but like
A minus.
I flunked out of school, man. Like, give me a real grade.
He's to get degrees, right?
Hoosiers been making me do letter grades recently.
Letter
I'm-
grades. Let's score it letter. What is it? A? Is it a pass? Is it a B? Is it
Josh,
Josh
where
in
do you
math
fall?
class getting the D?
What? I missed something. Got said too fast for my hearing.
Oh, that came out wrong. I said, "Did you get the D?"
No,
No.
the night's not over yet, though. So I mean,
Where would you grade it, Josh?
so I mean, I wrote the review of this for. I wrote a review of this for Graphic Policy. So mine would have came in. I hate leaving. I don't like 0.25 and I hate 0.75 also. And so I always want to round up. I would say that like the writing on this is a 9. The art on this for me is a 6 to 7.5. Cut that in half. It's a 3.75. I like rounding up. It's a 4 out of 5 for me.
Fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, the writing is just so strong on this. And I'm not bothered by the art. You guys mentioned like Diego Bernard. It's like, what the hell is that guy doing, man? Why couldn't we have gotten him on this?
right.
And maybe it's just that he's not as exciting. And maybe if you put him on this book, it's just like, oh, Diego Bernard. It doesn't give people a reason to talk about the book as much, like, whereas some people will look at this and be like, oh, I hate the art. And some people are like, oh, I've never read a Valiant book before. I'm totally picking up this one for the first time because of this darling art. But whatever the choices may be, the story's awesome. So if you're listening to us or if you're watching us afterward and you're like, I don't know how to feel about it, I'm just like everybody here has said, man, like if you like what you've read before, continue on. Pick up an issue. I think you're going to like where this is going to. The story is there. They're continuing on with things. I mean, I think it's like writing wise, like I don't think they could have done anything better.
Yeah, I'm going to be right. Agreeing with you there. I'm giving the story itself. It's getting a solid A, right? I think it's a great A. And I'm going to say that the art is passable. It's a D, right? It's the art's passable. It's still going to get you to where you need to go, and it's not going to totally derail you from the story. So that's where I think when I'm looking at a total score, I'm going to be like, right around B, going to be like an 83, 85% score if you're looking at it. But that's a lot of it is based on what Jeff Parker did and the plot and the movement of the story and the respecting of continuity and the accessibility for those new readers too, thinking about it in that realm too. I think it hits on a lot of cylinders right there when you're looking at this. So art, like I say, but ultimately this right here jumps it up a little bit though too. I'm happy that they had these covers.
Yeah. I'm stoked anytime Miko's involved with something Valiant. He's such an amazing artist, and I just love him doing Valiant stuff. So definitely was stoked about that. The other thing, and I'm trying to pull it up so that I remember exactly who the artist was. The other thing that jumped out at me in this issue was the ad for Exo Manowar number 5, and I want to say it was Tyler Kirkham cover. Here, I'm pulling it up right now on my phone. Yes, it is a Tyler Kirkham cover. And I know some people didn't like the change that Emilio Liso made to the Exo suit in the previous arc of Dennis Hopeless's run. But dude, I think it looks so badass on that Kirkham cover. Like, I think that's so fucking cool. So that was another thing that really stood out to me while I was reading this issue was that ad got me super pumped for Exo to come back. So
which one do you have it there with you?
I have it on my phone. I just think that looks super, super cool.
Same thoughts on it where I'm like, I don't love the costume. I don't love the uniform anymore. You know, like Sean Hara just doesn't look that cool.
I'm a big fan of it.
It is illustrated so nice by Tyler Kirkham and Valiant. That's a guy that you should do more work with, man.
Yep.
I'm definitely down for more Tyler Kirkham work with Valiant. But to me, like that costume looks super, super awesome. So I'm a big fan of that design.
Well, and that's what you need sometimes is when you see something, sometimes you need like a different perspective on it, or even like a different artist just to kind of put it out there for you, you know, because like I'm not a fan of the changes, especially the color changes on there.
I can't unsee the jock strap, you know, the cup.
Yeah. Yeah, like can Sean Hara just morph that into like some like metal drawers or something, like just some unders? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, there's some good looking covers for number 5.
Maybe like some hot like bike shorts, you know, like do that on the suit.
Oh man. No, I think that looks amazing. I'm really stoked for Exo to come back. You know, I'm really curious to see what the next arc is going to be like for that. So,
yeah.
like I said, that was just the other thing that jumped out at me when I was reading this issue.
Yeah, you know, one thing I want to make a comment about real quick. This is a little bit off topic. Well, it might not be off topic. I don't know. I think the covers have improved lately.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Since
like
Savage finished, yeah.
Yes, once they got Savage, they got that shit done with. They're like, you know, we got better work. We really do. And I mean, like a lot of these Ninjak covers are just awesome. Shadow Man.
Yeah.
I really like the Shadow Man covers a lot, man. Shadow Man just has such a cool look. I think like whatever little changes they've done to the appearance, fucking character looks perfect, man. And then like they had a little thing, it was like a month ago when they started revealing some of these covers for issue 5 by X-Men. They look awesome. So like, you know, I know people are down on that stuff, and I'm one of those people who's down on like how the covers look, you know, because sometimes that's the first thing you get when you see that book on the shelf is a good cover or a bad cover, you know, and your mind is kind of made up a little bit there too, where you're like, oh, that cover looks like shit. I'm not buying that book, you know. The covers look really good again. They might not be no Louis LaRosas out there, but there's some really good stuff out there if you look for it.
That I've been beating this to death, but that Dexter Soy cover for Exo that's coming up, I think it's like issue 7. That looks amazing. We haven't even seen it colored yet, and it looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, the covers are really starting to come back, like the really good covers.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%. Yeah.
And
I also was a really big fan of Emilio on the previous arc of Exo. You know, I don't know that this is my favorite Exo story as far as the writing goes, but I do think that they got a really good artist to draw it, and he really works for Exo for me. So,
too bad they couldn't put Emilio with Jeff Parker and then just cancel the other one.
I'm glad we're getting the books that we're getting. You know,
that Mike Cho cover that's right there too. Oh, that looks so good.
I'm telling you, man, that
Michael Cho cover doesn't even have the updated armor either, man.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh, he's such a great artist. He doesn't get enough credit, man. He just did a whole line of covers for Marvel. He's just got such a cool style, kind of Darwin and Cookish, you know, but
sure.
Oh, he just got such a cool style. He's such a fucking nice guy too, man. I've talked to him at conventions before, and man, I'm so glad to see him on a Valiant cover.
Well, yeah, I think we got a good book from Ninjak #1. I'm excited to see where the story goes moving forward. I hope that it continues being, you know, written to this quality level, and you know, we'll just see where it goes on the next one.
Yeah. Another good launch. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I like good lunches.
you always want that number one to really, well, like I said, I mean, we've gotten so many number ones that didn't accomplish half of what Ninjak number one did from a story perspective. So, I mean, I don't think I could be happier from that, from that vantage point. So I'm definitely really, really stoked to see how much can be accomplished in issue 2 from a story, as far as the story goes, and, just see where the story takes us from there, because I feel like there's a lot of story left to be told, and hopefully Jeff Parker has a long-term plan that we can get on board with, and it'll be more than just 4 issues.
Yeah, one thing, like I always like this idea of having people in charge of like certain aspects of a creative universe,
Yeah.
And I feel like for Valiant, if you could keep Cullen Bunn doing the Dead Side stuff, and you find someone who can handle like the cosmic, and you get a guy like Jeff Parker who can handle like the street level heroes of the Valiant universe. I'd be pretty happy with that, because I feel like this first issue just knocks it out of the park as far as the writing goes.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there. I'd love to see this writer on a Bloodshot book. I think he'd do really well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think probably even write like something like a Livewire good as well.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Potentially even a Harbinger story. You know what I mean? But yeah, I agree with that. I think that would be that's what you had essentially for a little while with Matt Kitt and Jeff Lemire to a degree. I mean, well, and you also had Venditti, who had Exo Lockdown.
Yeah.
But I think that's what you had a little bit there at that time. So I do think that having the uniform voice, the One Direction, is going to be good, not the band. But I think it would be it would be nice to have that just creative direction is in line, you know what I mean, between Lisa and forget the other editor's name now, but that they're all lined up in the same direction, right? It did seem like Heather and Lisa were doing 2 different directions, and so I hope it lines up to give similar stories, to get to the ability to do events, right? To make sense to do an event. Right now, it would make no sense at all to do an event, because where are all the characters? Where's everything in play?
Yeah.
I think you got to build it up to make it happen. And I do hope that next year, that something is ready for it.
I think we're seeing strides being made in the books that are coming out right now toward bringing the universe together. We're seeing books where characters are referencing other characters. We're seeing things like Shadow Man, where Shadow Man shows up in a place that Punk Mambo was in her solo title, interacting with characters that she interacted with in her book, and we're seeing like this crossover start to happen. So I'm just really hopeful that we get more of that as we move forward. If we can get, something that I think a lot about is, how the old kind of leadership at Valiant used to bring all the writers together to like a writer's retreat, and they would all sit around and say like, these are the characters I'm working on, and those are the characters you're working on. Here's the direction I want to go. How does that fit in with the direction that you want to take your characters, and how can we move the universe as a unified whole in one coherent direction? And I feel like that's something that I would love to see from the current, editorial team and the current creative staff as far as writers go, is, take that approach of saying like, let's get these people together and say like, let's make this shared universe a truly shared universe where everybody is working toward the same goals. And you can line up things like, how the Valiant brought an enormous number of Valiant characters together in a really natural, like coherent way that didn't feel forced. And then it led into not only the best Bloodshot book that we've ever gotten, in my opinion, from Jeff Lemire's Bloodshot Reborn, it also led into Venditti's Book of Death, which again brought an enormous amount of the Valiant universe together in a really natural, like flowing way that really didn't feel forced at all again. And then again, that led into an amazing book out of Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. So, I think that if we're able to see like I keep the dead horse I keep beating, over the last episode and this one, if we see this big reveal that came in Shadow Man 3 lead toward a bunch of the kind of like mystical type characters in the Valiant universe coming together, I think it would be amazing to see this culminate in a big event and then have that event shoot off into a solo book for, Tama or Dr. Mirage or whoever, Punk Mambo, whatever the case may be. Like, I just think that would be a really good opportunity to kind of capitalize on the opportunity presented. I just think that there's such a lot of possibilities there, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that ball dropped.
Don't drop the ball, kids.
Don't drop it. Just kick it.
Don't ever drop balls.
Kick it.
No. Just kick it if you're not into like doing anything athletic. Just kick it.
That was another moment in the Ninjak book that I thought was cool. And he's like, kick him in the face. She's like, what?
Kick him in the nose. His nose. Kick him in the nose.
Yep.
I thought that was a really good moment because he's like, look, number one, like, it killed him, and that was goal number one. But number two, shit's about to hit the fan, and you're going to have to take care of yourself. So you better get used to it. Like, I thought that was a really cool moment. So another positive thing that happened in this Ninjak issue that I liked.
Yeah.
So good book, good times. Really happy that we were all three able to hang out and chat about this book together again.
Yes.
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 This person and that person. Trying to play. Can't play very well.
Oh, that Joker's badass.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right, guys.
For all those viewers, got a new wrong one. Got a new little tattoo here. So,
Oh, man.
yeah.
That Joker is sick.
Love it. Goes good with this guy on the inside. So,
Yeah. That Batman's sick too.
Get comic tattoos. If you're going to get tattoos, get comic book tattoos.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
So, there you go. All right, gents. Well, everybody, subscribe, follow us. Let's do another episode when another book comes out sometime. And stay tuned.
Oh, yeah, like Scott said, all four of us. We got Scott hanging out with us too, which is nice to have him there as well. So we got the whole gang.
There it is.
Yeah, we're like Archer and Armstrong and Quantum and Woody in the mix, man.
Booyah.
But who's who?
I'm Archer.
You're what?
You're Archer?
You're Archer?
No, I'm Armstrong.
You're Armstrong. You're Archer. Do a backflip.
No, I'm definitely Armstrong.
Yeah, we'll have Josh be Archer, I guess, since his got a son named Archer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be the guy pissing in the hot tub or the pool or the tub or whatever. So I'll be Woody. What the fuck?
Fair enough.
All right. We're getting off on a tangent here.
All right, gents. Again, everybody, thank you. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
Stay valiant.
Later.